So today I want to talk about a topic that has really taken the internet by storm. I'm sure it is on every single second video on your Instagram feed or on Facebook, and so many people are definitely talking about it currently, and that is peptides. So today I want to talk about, are they magic? What are they actually? And are they safe? Should we be using it? Should we not? And I really want to try and break it down and make it easy for you to understand. But before we do that, just a quick introduction. Hello, my name is Melissa Nell. I'm a registered dietitian and I'm part of the Body 20 Nutrition Doctor team. Very welcome if you're new here. Please do follow along as we do these videos every 2 weeks, and you're very welcome to send us any questions via WhatsApp or email. So it's very important to understand actually what is a peptide. So especially if you're going to talk about peptides to someone, or if you're going to research it, then at least you know more or less what you are injecting into your body if you are using it or planning on using it. Okay, so first things first, peptides are basically little amino acids that have been linked together to form a specific peptide. So we get different types of amino acids, and the different formulations or the different types of amino acids linked together form different peptides. So if you think about a protein, for example, let's say a chicken breast or an egg or whatever, it has a lot of amino acids bonded together. If you then break that down into smaller little amino acid chains, you then get peptides. And if that's broken down even more, that is when we start to see the individual amino acids. So amino acids together become peptides, peptides together become protein. So that is basically what it is. When we're looking at amino acids, remember that we have 20 amino acids that the body requires. 11 of them are essential and 9 of them are non-essential. Essential meaning that your body actually can't make it itself. It needs to be consumed through your diet. And the non-essential amino acids, of course, are things that your body actually produces itself. So in that note, we know that the body actually is able to produce its own peptides. Now, why is peptides all of a sudden taking up all of the internet space? It's not something new. It's been around since we've literally existed. But what is new is the fact that we, or researchers or medical practitioners, have now figured out how to make these peptides in certain dosages that's going to just make them even more effective and potent, and not necessarily have to wait for your body to produce it naturally or to try and make it from the food that we consume. So that's basically where we're now standing with peptides being injected because of the therapeutic dosages showing certain benefits in certain people when used in certain cases, for example. So some of the peptides that you've definitely seen on the internet would be, of course, Ozempic or GLP-1s. It would be something like Mounjaro, which is a mixture of 2 peptides, maybe even BPC 157, TB 500, or then one of the most interesting ones that we now see currently, which is really taking the internet by storm because people are losing weight at the speed of light, is Retatrutide, excuse me. So it's a tongue twister. And it's one of those things that is really important to note, that with that specific peptide, even though people are seeing really amazing results, it is something that we need to talk about, because unfortunately Retatrutide is still in its phase 3 of clinical trials, meaning that it is not FDA or SUPRA approved. You won't be able to really prescribe it yet necessarily, and it hasn't been tested for long-term safety. So if you are using Retatrutide at the moment, it isn't necessarily that safe, unfortunately, because it's maybe still research based, or in its research phase. It is definitely still in its research phases. So if you are getting Retatrutide at the moment, it's not necessarily a prescribable medication at the moment because it is still in its research phase. So there is definitely some risks when it comes down to that. So do be mindful about that. And that's the thing with peptides currently, is that they, like I mentioned, they're not new. They've been around forever. It's just that we are now we actually only now understanding how to use them and so forth. So as the research progresses and as we understand how to formulate these and how to manage the dosages correctly, we will then, of course, be able to really safely use them. But for now, it is still something that is in the developing phases. So if you are thinking of using a peptide, I would definitely go for something that has been researched effectively or a lot and is FDA or SUPRA approved, and you got it from a registered medical practitioner and not necessarily just off of the internet. So For weight loss specifically, if we're looking at Manjaro or Ozempic, for example, those two are really well researched and they do provide amazing results. So people do see around 15 to 20% fat loss, which is incredible. And it really just gives you that bit of a head start to reaching your goals at the end of the day. So I'm definitely personally not necessarily against someone using Ozempic. It is just important to use it correctly. So this is where the big thing comes in, is to work with a medical practitioner like a doctor, for example, that can prescribe your Ozempic and work, make sure that you are working together with that doctor to ensure that the dosages are correct. Now, let's talk a little bit about how, for example, GLP-1s work. Why do you lose weight, for example, on it? So the main reason is GLP-1s decrease the stomach emptying. In other words, food actually stay in the stomach for a longer period of time, meaning that you feel fuller for longer. So inevitably, it's going to decrease your appetite. So then you're going to decrease the amount of food you eat, which will decrease the calories. And if we're looking at calorie balance, if your calories that you are consuming are less than what you are burning, you will lose weight. So that's basically how it works. So it's just a really effective appetite suppressant. However, it also helps to manage the blood glucose levels. So you don't necessarily, even if you're eating less, you're not feeling like you're eating less, you don't feel hungry and you don't feel tired or like you can't concentrate, because it does regulate your blood sugar levels. And that's why Ozempic and, for example, the GLP-1s are very effective in treating type 2 diabetes and obesity, because it is safe to use and it's very effective. The problem comes in is when we are not using the dosages correctly. Maybe you overdosing or whatever the case may be. But then one of the main ones that is a problem with a GLP-1, since it is decreasing your appetite, you might not be having enough protein. And if you're not prioritizing strength training, maybe because you feel very nauseous, because that's one of the side effects, then we do see that it may lead to a decrease in your lean body mass or your muscle mass, which inevitably will decrease your metabolism. So if you do stop using these GLP-1s, for example, there is a risk of gaining back all of the weight because you have lost quite a lot of lean body mass, which will decrease your metabolism, and then of course, if you stop it, then your appetite will return and then it's quite a mess at the end of the day. So it is really important to prioritize protein and strength training or resistance training, like your Body 20 sessions, for example. So make sure you are still prioritizing protein. If you see that you are so nauseous or so no appetite, for example, I do recommend you talk to your doctor to decrease your dosage so that you're still at least consuming sufficient amount of protein and micronutrients. That's the other thing that we also see, because at the end of the day, people are they have no appetite, they end up not eating, or they might eat like really small amounts of food, but then it's not very high quality food. So when you are eating, make sure it's high nutrient dense quality types of foods with lots of micronutrients and antioxidants and those types of things in it, because even if you are only eating a small amount, but it's like, rubbish food, then that's not going to be very helpful in the long term. So quality of your diet is still very important, even if you are using Ozempic. It is not your whole pass to now eat whatever you want because you're going to lose weight. You probably will lose weight, but it's going to be detrimental, for your health in the long term. So the moral of the story with peptides are that they definitely aren't magic. They have been around for a very long time, and they will be part of our lives going forward. And hopefully, as the research progresses, we'll be able to use these peptides a lot more effectively and safe. However, at the moment, some of them are still in their infancy in terms of their research and where you can get them and whether they are approved or not. So just be mindful of where you get your peptides from. Make sure it's a reputable source. It should preferably be a medical practitioner that can prescribe these peptides that have been compounded in a really high quality facility that's not laced with other things in it. So just be mindful of that, and then make sure not to lend your ears out to every single influencer on the internet saying that you should be stacking 50 different peptides into your body. It is still something we need to be mindful of because the research is still quite new. So I hope this has been helpful. Let us know if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next one.